If you're watching this, you have probably tried, really sincerely tried, to change your life. You've bought the books with the minimalist covers, you've hired the coaches, you've journaled until your hand cramped, and you've manifested until you were blue in the face. But if you're honest, you are still the same person. You are still reacting to the same triggers, encountering the same problems, feeling the same regret, wondering when all of your inner work is going to produce an outer result. I want you to understand it is not because you're broken, and it's not because you didn't try hard enough. It is because the industry you've been depending on to change you is broken. It is focused on making you feel better while completely ignoring the fact that change can only happen when you change your actions, not your mood. Self-improvement has become more about the high-end paint job on a car rather than the engine that makes the high-end paint job worth having. And that's the part no one talks about. My name is Kelly, and this is Better by Intent. Before we go further, a quick disclaimer. If you are looking for the soft aesthetic version of self-improvement, the one with the beige filters and the vague quotes about loving your light, this might not be the channel for you, and that's okay. But if you are tired of being comforted and you are ready to be changed, stay with me. Because we are going to look at why your self-improvement has failed you and how we're going to fix it using the law of cause and effect. This video is the starting point of a larger structured series, not because you need more information, but because most people have never been taught how life actually works in a practical, repeatable way. Everything that follows builds on this foundation. In this introductory video to the 30-video self-improvement series, I am going to address 6 misconceptions so you can continue on with confidence. Number 1. First, we have to go back to the real meaning of self-improvement. Words like intentional living and personal growth have been hijacked, stripped of their true meaning, making it impossible for you to achieve their original intent. When most people hear intentional living, they think of organized pantries, expensive linen sheets, and waking up at 5 a.m. to drink lemon water. We've turned growth into an aesthetic, a look we put on rather than a choice we make. Psychologically, this is a trap called performative growth. Your brain loves the look of improvement because it provides a hit of dopamine without any actual labor of changing. It is a form of cognitive ease. It feels like you're doing something, but you are just decorating the cell you are still locked in. We have collectively decided that improvement means making our lives more comfortable. We set polite boundaries, journal our feelings, and buy self-help books. But here's the problem. None of those change your character. They just change your mood. When those comfortable things don't fix the deep-seated anxiety or the reoccurring chaos in your life, you assume the problem is you. You think, I mustn't be feeling the right things. No. The problem is the definition. We have been taught that growth is a feeling, but growth is a result of corrective action. If your growth hasn't involved being painfully honest with yourself, it's just a hobby. It is time to move past the aesthetics and get into what really changes your life. And this is why so many people feel like they are always working on themselves, but never actually moving forward. The work looks real, it sounds real, it even feels real in the moment, but nothing downstream changes because the work never reaches the level where behavior is disrupted. Your brain is very good at this. It loves improvement that doesn't cost it anything. It loves reflection that doesn't require restraint. It loves insight that doesn't force a decision. That's not laziness, that's efficiency. The brain is always looking for the least expensive way to feel better. So it learns the language, it adopts the rituals, it performs growth convincingly enough that you stop questioning whether anything underneath is actually changing. This is why people confuse being thoughtful with being transformed. They are not lying to themselves, they are just stuck in a system that rewards appearance over outcome. And until that system is exposed, the cycle keeps repeating. Number 2, all of life is under the law of cause and effect. At Better by Intent, we believe in one core law, cause and effect. Your life isn't a series of accidents that happened to you. It is a series of returns on the choices you've made. That sounds heavy, I know. It is much easier to believe that we are victims of bad vibes or Mercury in retrograde. Believing you're a victim is a psychological defense mechanism. It protects you from the weight of accountability. But there is an incredible power in realizing that life is just physics playing out. Intentional living isn't about color-coding a planner. It's about realizing that every action you take is a seed. If you keep sowing seeds of chaos, you can't be shocked when your life yields painful results. Psychologists call this the internal locus of control. It is the belief that you have the power to influence the events of your life. But the reality is, the only thing you have absolute control over are your actions, how you respond to the world around you. Most people spend their lives trying to manage the effects while ignoring the causes. They want to stop feeling regret, but they won't stop making the choices that create regret. But when you take responsibility for the chaos, life is no longer a mystery, and that is when you finally gain the power to create the peace that you desire to experience. You aren't being punished by life. You are being informed by it. And this is where a lot of people get stuck emotionally, because they hear cause and effect and assume it means blame. It doesn't. Cause and effect is neutral. It doesn't care who you are, what you meant, or how aware you've become. It just responds to input. If you touch a hot stove, the burn isn't a judgment, it's feedback. And once you understand that, you stop taking outcomes so personally. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what did I do that led here? That shift alone lowers anxiety for a lot of people. Life stops feeling like a series of personal failures and starts feeling like a system you can finally understand. And when you can understand the system, you can work with it instead of fighting it. Number 3, invisible patterns we all have that run our lives without us realizing it. Why do we make the choices we do? This is where it gets interesting. Most of us are walking around in manual mode, thinking we are in control, while our upbringing and our environment are actually running the autopilot script in the background. This is your implicit memory, the lessons you learned before you had the language to understand them. You were shaped by patterns you didn't choose, invisible scripts about money, conflict, and self-worth that were handed to you before you could even talk. You might think that you're choosing a partner because of chemistry, but often your brain is just responding to a familiar pattern of dysfunction that feels like home. This is the psychological concept of repetition compulsion, the drive to recreate the past because it's familiar, even if it's painful. Personal growth is the process of identifying those red flags, not just in others, but in yourself. It's about realizing that how I've always been is not who I have to be. It is identifying the invisible threads of your past so you can finally cut them. You are not just born this way, you were built this way, which means you can be rebuilt by intent. One of the hardest things to accept is that familiar pain often feels safer than unfamiliar peace. Not because it's better, but because it's predictable. Your nervous system knows how to survive it. So when people say things like, I don't know why I keep choosing this, the answer is usually that some part of them does know. It recognizes the pattern. It recognizes the emotional terrain. It knows the road, even if the road leads where they don't want to be. This is why change can feel destabilizing, even when it's healthy. You are not just giving something up. You are stepping out of a pattern that once helped you survive. and your body doesn't immediately know the difference between danger and unfamiliar calm. Understanding that removes a lot of self-judgment. You are not weak for resisting change. You are patterned, and patterns can be interrupted once you can see them. Number 4, the difference between belief and truth. There is a massive difference between a belief and a truth. A belief is something you have to work to maintain. You have to repeat affirmations. You have to convince yourself. You have to try to believe it. This is an uphill battle against your own cognitive dissonance. If you tell yourself you're confident while your life is a mess of unaddressed consequences, your brain won't believe you. Truth is different. Truth doesn't require any effort, and that is how you can tell the difference. When truth hits you, it's visceral. It's that moment where the scales fall from your eyes and you say, "Oh, I see now." And you can't unsee it. You can't go back to the old way of thinking because the new reality has already moved in. A belief says, "I should stop being angry." Truth says, "My anger comes from a pattern I no longer want to repeat because it is causing unnecessary pain for me and for the people around me." When that switch flips, you don't need a 5-step plan to change. The change happens because the cause has been exposed. On this channel, we aren't looking for things to believe in. We are looking for the truths that set us free from the labor of pretending. One way to tell the difference between belief and truth is how much effort it takes to hold it. Beliefs require maintenance. You have to remind yourself, reframe, repeat, defend. Truth is quieter. When something is true, your body stops arguing with it. There is a sense of settling, even if the truth itself is uncomfortable, especially then. This is why affirmations fall apart when behavior contradicts them. Your nervous system doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you do. When truth lands, there's no motivational speech required. The change begins because the contradiction is no longer tolerable. That's the kind of shift this work is designed to create. Number 5, the definition of maturity is not age. We have a superficial definition of maturity in our culture. We think it's about age, or having a mortgage, or having a real job. Real maturity is much simpler. It's accountability. It is the ability to look at a mess in your life and say, "I am the common denominator here." It is the refusal to live in another person's debt, emotionally or financially, because you want to be the sole owner of your choices. And this is where consistency comes in. You can't be intentional once every 3 weeks and expect a new life. Change is the result of neuroplasticity, rewiring the brain through repeated action. You have to be consistent because cause and effect never takes a day off. Gravity doesn't sleep, and neither does the return on your actions. Maturity is realizing that the peace you seek is a direct result of the chaos you refuse to create. A lot of people try to change once. They have a moment of clarity, make a decision, and expect their life to reorganize itself around that insight. The cause and effect doesn't work in moments. It works in repetition. This is where maturity really shows up, not in intensity, but in consistency, in doing the same grounded thing again tomorrow, even when today already felt hard. Neuroplasticity doesn't care about motivation. It responds to repetition. Stable lives are built quietly, through boring decisions, through unglamorous restraint, through choosing the same direction even when no one is applauding. That's not a lack of ambition. That's an understanding of how change actually compounds. Number 6, intentional silence is your greatest strength. Everything we've talked about so far leads to one practical moment, not a philosophy, not a mindset, a moment that shows up in real life over and over again. So how do you stop creating chaos? You learn to respond instead of reacting, and for that to happen, you have to pause. Take a moment to make a different choice. Do differently than you usually do that creates the life you don't want. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl once said that between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Here is what that looks like in real life. Number 1, the argument. Normally when someone snaps at you, you snap back just as fast. It's a reflex. But this time, you pause. You use a moment of silence to think ahead. You realize that winning the argument will actually cost you your peace. You choose not to engage, and there is no argument because you refuse to give it fuel. That's change. Number 2, the traffic light. Someone honks at you for not moving when the light turns green. Normally, you flip them off, punch the gas, and act the victim. This time, you wave and say sorry, understanding they only honked because you weren't paying attention. That's change. Number 3, the home front. You get home from work and you are exhausted. Normally, you'd walk through the door and ignore your spouse, retreating into your hiding place. This time, you walk in, you offer a hug, and you ask, "How can I help you for 10 minutes before I decompress?" You just traded an evening of tension for an evening of connection, and that is change. None of this is magic. It's merely the fact that a different input leads to a different output. At first, the pause feels awkward, even threatening, because reaction has an identity attached to it. It feels like self-protection. It feels like honesty, like being real. But over time, something interesting happens. The pause stops feeling like restraint and starts feeling like authorship. You are no longer being pulled through life by your impulses. You are choosing your direction. And that is where self-trust is built, not through affirmations or confidence exercises, but through evidence. You watch yourself respond differently. You see outcomes shift. And slowly you stop needing to convince yourself that you're changing because you can see it. That's when identity changes, not because you declared it, but because you earned it. There is nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. In fact, it is necessary. Meditate if it helps you regulate. Journal if it brings clarity. Organize your pantry if it keeps you sane. Drink lemon water if you like it. Make your environment Instagram worthy. Just don't confuse feeling better with being better. These things don't change your life. They just make you more comfortable. This work is choosing. This work is taking action. This work is taking the steering wheel of your life back from your shadow and your history to become a new version of yourself. If you stay with Better by Intent, understand that we don't bypass the hard stuff here. We don't pretend that good vibes only is a sustainable lifestyle. We look at the red flags, we own our patterns, and we make better choices so we can stop living with the crushing weight of regret. You may have heard someone say they had a road to Damascus moment, meaning something inside of them changed. A switch flipped, and the truth of something became clear where before there was confusion or darkness. Sometimes that moment isn't loud. Sometimes it's simply understanding how the system actually works and realizing the difference between the truth of that system and the belief that what you were doing was changing you. If you feel in your body what I am saying, not just hearing the words with your ears, that is your inner knowing recognizing truth. That will lead to change if you do the work replacing the beliefs you thought would change you. This series is about learning how to live deliberately instead of accidentally, about understanding how choices turn into outcomes so you can stop being surprised by your own life. If you are ready to stop wondering why your life hasn't improved and start actually improving it, the 30-video self-improvement series will help you navigate the road from accidental living to intentional living. and I hope that you will join me. We are not here to make your life better for a week. We are here to help your life work better for the long run. This is not accidental living. This is intentional living by intent. I have attached a companion PDF in the description below to help you slow this down and apply it. It is designed to move you out of thinking and into choosing by helping you identify patterns you might already see and the choices that keep repeating. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and I will see you in the next one.